Going public for with the largest IPO that ever. And let me tell you, if people had told me this was going to happen, I was like, man, you must be smoking some really good crack.
It's all Elon, isn't it? This is Priviso Live. Welcome to Priviso Live, your weekly look at information security, ICT legislation, and the world of artificial intelligence from a proudly South African perspective. I'm Lynn.
I'm Stephen.
And I'm Kayla. And today we have a big one.
Enormous, Kayla. We are talking about one man who this week made history. Not just South African history, human history.
Elon Musk, born in Pretoria, South Africa, became the world's first trillionaire on the 12th of June, 2026, when SpaceX began trading on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol SPCX.
A trillion with a T.
Stephen, put that in context for us.
So the SpaceX IPO, the initial public offering, that is the first time the shares of a private company are offered to the public on a stock exchange, was the largest in human history. It dethroned Saudi Aramco's 2019 record, 555 million shares at $135 each, generating $75 billion in proceeds. Musk owns around 42% of SpaceX, and at IPO price, his stake alone was worth some $866 billion. Add in Tesla, X, XAI, The Boring Company, and Neuralink, and you get to $1.1 trillion.
And the internet, as you would expect, completely lost its mind.
It did. There has been significant reaction from the political left, anger that one man could accumulate that kind of wealth while others struggle. And I think we need to address that head-on without taking political sides.
The reality is that are diverse opinions of Elon. Donald Trump referred to him as one of our great geniuses. Sam Altman said he operates from a position of insecurity. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called him a billionaire con man and described him as one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed, which says more about her than him, I think. Bernie Sanders claimed Musk's extreme wealth is an absurdity and reflects a broken system of wealth distribution.
The argument goes that such concentration of wealth is inherently destabilizing. But that wealth is not sitting in a vault somewhere. It is equity. It is the market's valuation of the companies he built. If you sold all his shares tomorrow, the price would collapse. He is not hoarding cash. He is, in the eyes of markets, the single biggest value creator in human history.
And is he actually the richest person ever?
That depends entirely on how you count. In purely monetary terms, adjusted for inflation and economic output, he is not. Augustus Caesar, the first Roman emperor, is estimated to have controlled personal wealth equivalent to about $4.6 trillion in today's money, roughly a fifth of the entire Roman economy. Joseph Stalin controlled Soviet state assets equivalent to approximately $7.5 trillion in today's money. But neither of those was personal wealth in any meaningful modern sense. It was political and military power over a nation's resources.
And then there are the genuine historical titans of individual wealth.
Mansa Musa, the 14th century emperor of the Mali Empire, is widely regarded by historians as the wealthiest private individual in history. His empire controlled more than half of the world's known gold supply at the time. His estimated wealth runs to $400 billion in today's money, though some historians say the figure is simply incomprehensible. John D. Rockefeller, the American oil magnate who built Standard Oil, is estimated at around $340 billion in inflation-adjusted terms. So Musk is in that league. He is not exceeding them on a strictly historical basis, but he is absolutely the first human being to hold $1 trillion in documented, modern, auditable net worth. Undeniably.
But let us go back, way back, because this man did not start with $1 trillion rand, let alone $1 trillion.
Elon Reeve Musk was born on the 28th of June 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa. His father, Errol Musk, was a South African engineer. His mother, May, is a Canadian model and dietitian, and still, at 75, a working model. Power genes clearly run in that family.
I'd say so.
Musk was not a conventional child. He was extraordinarily bright, but socially awkward, and he has spoken openly about traits consistent with Asperger's syndrome. He was bullied at school, badly enough to end up in hospital on one occasion. He read voraciously. And when I say voraciously, I mean he reputedly read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica as a child. For fun.
Shame. Someone buy that child a PlayStation.
At the age of 12, he wrote a video game called Blaster, a rudimentary space shooter, and sold it to a computing magazine for $500. That is roughly 9,000 rands in today's terms. Not bad for a 12-year-old from Pretoria.
When he was 17, in 1988, he left South Africa. He moved to Canada first, his mother's homeland, primarily to avoid mandatory military service in the South African Defense Force, and more fundamentally because he believed the real opportunities were elsewhere.
And I think that is the honest version of the story. He did not leave because he hated South Africa. He left because he wanted to be where the action was.
He has said that himself. He moved to Canada, attended Queen's University in Ontario, then transferred to the University of Pennsylvania in the United States, where he earned degrees in both economics and physics.
And then, this is the part I always find extraordinary, he enrolled in a PhD program in energy physics at Stanford University in California, and dropped out after 2 days.
2 days.
Because the internet was happening, and he did not want to study about the future. He wanted to build it.
And build it he did. Stephen, walk us through the milestones because there are many.
Let us start with the one most people do not know about. Before SpaceX, before Tesla, before any of that, there was Zip2. Musk and his brother Kimball co-founded a software company that provided business directories and maps for newspapers. This was before Google Maps existed. He sold it to Compaq in 1999 for $307 million. He personally pocketed $22 million.
That is not a bad start.
He then used $12 million of that to co-found X.com, an online bank. X.com merged with a company called Confinity, which had a product called PayPal. Musk's company became PayPal. When eBay acquired PayPal in 2002 for $1.5 billion, Musk walked away with $176 million.
He was 31 years old.
And what did he do with it?
He bet most of it on two ideas that his friends told him were lunatic: electric cars and private rockets. He did it anyway.
Tesla, founded by Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning in 2003. Musk joined as chairman in 2004, invested $6.5 million of his own money, and became CEO in 2008. Here is what people often get wrong. Electric cars existed long before Tesla. They had been around since the early 1900s, but they were slow, they were ugly, and they had the range of a golf cart. Tesla changed the conversation entirely.
The Roadster, launched in 2008, proved that an electric vehicle could be fast and genuinely desirable. The Model S in 2012 proved it could have real long range. The Model 3 in 2017 proved it could be mass-market affordable. Today, every major car manufacturer in the world is scrambling to catch up.
And SpaceX?
Founded in 2002, after Musk famously tried to buy second-hand intercontinental ballistic missiles from the Russians, and they laughed at him, so he decided to build his own rockets.
As you do.
The key innovation was not simply building rockets, it was making them reusable. Orbital-class rocket boosters had always been discarded after a single use, like an airplane engine you throw away after every flight. SpaceX, for the first time in history, landed them back and flew them again. That reduced launch costs by an order of magnitude.
In 2012, SpaceX became the first private company to send a spacecraft to the International Space Station. In 2020, the Crew Dragon carried astronauts there, the first time in history that a private company launched human beings into orbit and docked with the ISS.
Starlink. I need to talk about Starlink because this is the one that actually affects people's everyday lives in a very practical way, including people in South Africa, where, by the way, it is still fighting to get a license, but we will come back to that.
Starlink is a constellation of low Earth orbit satellites, the largest in history, providing broadband internet to remote and underserved areas. Ships, aircraft, disaster zones, rural communities. The first satellites launched in 2019, and the network now has tens of thousands of satellites in orbit, delivering broadband performance comparable to many land-based connections.
Tesla also pioneered utility-scale battery energy storage, the Powerwall for homes, and the Megapack for commercial and grid-scale applications. These systems enable renewable energy projects to store power when the sun shines and the wind blows, and release it when they do not. And the supercharger network addressed what was, for years, the single biggest barrier to EV adoption: range anxiety. The ability to fast charge a Tesla on a long journey reliably at a network of dedicated stations, changed the EV calculation for millions of drivers.
And then things got really interesting.
Neuralink, founded in 2016. The goal, a brain-computer interface, a device implanted directly in the brain that allows people with paralysis to control computers with their thoughts. In 2024, the first human patient, a 29-year-old man with quadriplegia, was implanted with the Neuralink device called telepathy. He could browse the internet, play chess, and control a cursor using thought alone.
That sentence deserves a moment.
It does.
The Boring Company, that's the name of the company, not a comment on its approach, introduced the concept of underground loop tunnels for electric vehicles in cities, aiming to reduce surface congestion. The Las Vegas Convention Center loop is already operational. And the Hyperloop concept, high-speed passenger pods in low-pressure tubes, potentially reaching speeds approaching 1,200 kilometers per hour, Musk proposed and published openly in 2013, specifically inviting anyone to develop it. No large-scale commercial Hyperloop system has yet been built, but the idea has driven billions in global research and investment.
And then, in just the past few months, he has announced 2 more things that are, and I do not use this word lightly, genuinely mind-bending.
The Terafab, announced in March 2026, jointly developed by Tesla, xAI, SpaceX, and Intel. A vertically integrated semiconductor fabrication plant based in Austin, Texas, designed to produce more than 1 terawatt of AI compute capacity per year. Initial investment, $55 billion. Total planned investment, $119 billion. That is a facility that does not have an equivalent anywhere on Earth.
And Grok, xAI's AI model, is already among the most capable large language models available. It now powers the X platform formerly known as Twitter.
And AI-1, unveiled on the 8th of June 2026, just days before the SpaceX IPO. AI-1 is an orbital AI compute node, a satellite with a 70-meter wingspan, wider than a Boeing 747, carrying 72 NVIDIA Rubin architecture GPUs, and delivering 120 kilowatts of sustained AI computing power from low Earth orbit. No land, no power grid, no cooling towers, just orbit.
SpaceX has filed plans with the FCC for up to 1 million of these satellites, and Google has already signed a reported $920 million per month compute deal with SpaceX before a single production satellite has been launched.
1 million AI supercomputer satellites in orbit.
It is genuinely one of the most audacious technology plays in human history.
So who is this guy? Because here is the thing, for every person who thinks Elon Musk is humanity's greatest living asset, there is another person who finds him, shall we say, grating.
His personality is distinctive. He is impulsive on social media. He picks fights. He named his child XAAC. He has a dry, sometimes juvenile sense of humor, and he is relentlessly, exhaustingly driven.
He led the Department of Government Efficiency as a special government employee under President Trump from the beginning of 2025. His mandate was to reduce the cost of the federal government, and he pursued it aggressively, cutting federal employees, shutting down programs, and challenging the bureaucratic status quo.
And then, in a move nobody quite expected, he fell out with Trump.
In May 2025, Trump's signature spending bill passed the U.S. House of Representatives by a single vote. Musk described it publicly as undermining the work of the Department of Government Efficiency and increasing the budget deficit. It was his first ever public criticism of Trump. He left the administration at the end of May, when his 130-day mandate expired.
And even his departure was dramatic. He thanked Trump but made no secret of his frustration.
The OpenAI matter. Musk was a co-founder and early funder of OpenAI, the organization behind ChatGPT. He departed from the board in 2018. In 2024, he sued OpenAI and its CEO Sam Altman, alleging they had betrayed the organization's founding mission as a non-profit by creating a for-profit subsidiary, and, in his words, had effectively stolen a charity.
The case went to trial in May 2026. Musk took the stand. He argued he had been deceived into providing early funding. He also, in a moment that generated considerable media attention, admitted under oath that his own AI company, xAI, which makes the chatbot Grok, uses OpenAI's models to train its own systems.
The jury returned a unanimous verdict in less than 2 hours
And
dismissed, not on the merits but on the clock. Musk had waited too long to file. The case was thrown out on the basis of the statute of limitations.
So he lost. Not necessarily because he was wrong, but because he was late.
As someone who advises on ICT compliance and legal frameworks, I will simply say, timeliness matters.
And the Apple situation, which has been genuinely entertaining if you are not Apple or OpenAI.
When Apple announced a partnership with OpenAI to integrate ChatGPT directly into iPhones, iPads, and Macs, Musk was furious. He accused Apple and OpenAI of an antitrust conspiracy to stifle AI competition, specifically alleging that Apple was manipulating App Store rankings to favor OpenAI's products over his XAI competitor, Grok.
He filed suit against both companies in Texas federal court. Apple denied the allegations emphatically, saying its recommendations are driven by objective algorithms and editorial curation. OpenAI filed a counter-lawsuit against Musk, accusing him of harassment.
And Tim Cook, for his part, has continued selling hundreds of millions of phones. So he is probably managing the stress reasonably well.
Now, can we talk about South Africa? Because as South Africans, this one sits a little differently.
It does.
Starlink has been unable to obtain a telecommunications operating license in South Africa. The reason is that the Electronic Communications Act, broad-based black economic empowerment, require foreign investors in the telecom sector to hold a minimum 30% local shareholding. Starlink has declined to comply.
Musk has been very vocal about this. He has publicly described the legislation as openly racist and alleged that officials approached him with the suggestion that he install a nominal black executive to satisfy the requirement, an offer he said he refused on principle.
The South African government has pushed back firmly. The telecoms regulator pointed out that Starlink had not even formally applied for a license. The Minister of Communications stated clearly that there would be no special regulatory shortcut for anyone, including Musk.
President Ramaphosa's position has been pragmatic. He suggested that if Musk objects to the shareholding requirement, there are alternative pathways, including investing in education, specifically providing free broadband connectivity to rural schools.
Which is a very polite way of saying the price of entry is non-negotiable.
And then there was the Oval Office.
The 21st of May, 2025. President Trump hosted President Ramaphosa in the Oval Office in what became a tense and widely televised meeting. Elon Musk was in attendance. He said not a single word to either president.
But the cameras caught him, and the headline from one Irish newspaper rather captured the moment. Elon Musk stares daggers at Ramaphosa.
Trump acknowledged Musk's presence in the room by noting, and I quote, "Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved."
Indeed, some things are better handled with a look.
If you are trying to make sense of Elon Musk, it helps to compare him to the great industrial figures of history.
There are four names that come up consistently. Thomas Edison, for industrial innovation and the commercialization of technology. Edison did not just invent, he built systems around inventions. The light bulb, the phonograph, the motion picture camera. He made technology accessible and profitable at scale. Musk does precisely the same. Henry Ford, for manufacturing scale and cost reduction. Ford did not invent the automobile. He perfected the process of making it affordable. The Model T was not the first car, it was the first car that ordinary people could own. Tesla and SpaceX both reflect that same obsession with driving down unit costs through manufacturing innovation. Tesla's gigafactories and now terafab are Ford's River Rouge plant at 21 century scale. Steve Jobs for product vision, branding, and user experience. Jobs understood something others missed. Technology only matters when people want to use it. The iPhone was not technically the first smartphone, but it was the first one people loved. Tesla's cars, SpaceX's sleek rocket landings, the Starlink app on your phone, all of it reflects that Jobs-like insistence that design and experience are not optional extras. And Howard Hughes, the aviator, filmmaker, and aerospace pioneer, for the willingness to take enormous technical risk and pursue aerospace ambitions that others considered unrealistic. Hughes built record-breaking aircraft, bought and ran airlines, and had a vision of what aviation could become that was decades ahead of its time. Musk's SpaceX is Howard Hughes at a planetary scale.
So he is all four of them at once.
In different proportions, depending on what he is working on. Although he is very different to Nikola Tesla, the inventor, Musk is more about implementing grand visions than invention.
And perhaps that is what makes him genuinely unprecedented. There has never been one individual who has simultaneously transformed the automotive industry, the space industry, the global telecommunications industry, the energy storage industry, the neuroscience field, the construction industry, and now the AI compute industry. Not at this scale, not in a single lifetime.
And that brings us to the final question. Does Elon Musk symbolize something larger than himself?
I think he does. And I will be honest, I used to find him exhausting. The posts, the drama, the memes, the baby names. But when you step back and look at the sum of what he has built, you realize you are watching something genuinely historic.
The latter half of the 20th century was characterized in many ways by a kind of societal inward turn, a questioning of grand ambitions, a suspicion of technological progress, a wariness of big bets. We stopped going to the moon in 1972. We retreated from the heroic vision of what technology could do for humanity. Small, cautious, and incremental was the order of the day.
And then here comes a man from Pretoria who says Mars, reusable rockets, brain chips, satellite internet for the whole world, orbital AI supercomputers, a chip fabrication plant the size of a small city. And not one of those things is a metaphor. He is literally building them.
There is something important in that, not just for technology, but for what it says about human capacity. That one person with enough conviction and enough capital and enough sheer bloody-mindedness can still move the needle in ways that feel almost mythological.
He is not a saint. He is not without controversy. He wins some and loses some, as the OpenAI case demonstrated rather conclusively. But the scale of his ambition is genuinely new. And whether you admire him or not, the world he is building is arriving whether we are ready for it or not.
And for those of us working in information security and ICT legislation, because that is what Priviso Live is fundamentally about, Musk's ventures raise questions that we will be grappling with for decades. Who owns and governs the data flowing through Starlink? What are the cybersecurity implications of a brain-computer interface? Who regulates artificial intelligence running from orbit? These are not theoretical questions. They are the questions of right now.
And as always, knowing they are coming is half the battle.
And there you have it. This has been Priviso Live. We hope you found today's episode interesting. If you did, please
Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube.
And if you need security, risk, or ICT legislation advice, contact Priviso, consulting directly at admin@priviso.co.za.
And if you have topics you'd like us to cover or questions about anything we discussed today, reach out to us. We love hearing from our listeners.
I'm Stephen.
And I'm Kayla. Thanks for listening.
Stay secure.
Stay safe, everyone.
Stay safe.